What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Half Street High Heat, episode 172. We are moving along throughout this lockout off season and giving you another exciting episode of Half Street High Heat. We are doing something different tonight. Obviously, like I just said, we are in a lockout, not anything going on really. We're very much at a stalemate between the players and the MLB. But there are some interesting items to talk about. So we decided to switch things up. Tonight's episode, obviously you're listening to this, isn't just on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening. It's also going to be on YouTube. We talked about this for a while. Our episodes, hopefully going forward, will be on YouTube. Tonight's going to be the kind of test drive of it. We're going to iron out the kinks. And then by the time season rolls around, whenever that is, whenever the lockout officially ends, our episodes will be 100% on YouTube in addition to podcast format. This way, everything we're talking about, any visual references, aids, guides that we have on screen, if it's a baseball reference page or a graphic, you guys get to see it as well, be a little bit more interactive and whatnot. So that's going to be the platform going forward. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. But joining me tonight is the YouTube man himself, Trey. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see him, Hey. But for those still listening in the OG method, Trey is joining me tonight. Trey made his podcast debut on Trivia a couple weeks back. We won't talk about your podcast or your trivia performance. Maybe that isn't.
Let's bury that one.
Yeah, we'll bury that. We'll focus on the future going forward. YouTube channel. Trey has been absolutely killing it. If you follow the show on Twitter, as you should, you guys know the Friday film days. Trey has been absolutely on fire. Trey, thank you for joining me tonight. How are you doing?
Of course. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm ready to discuss some salary dumps. Let's take on some money.
Yeah. So what we're doing, it's been a while. Obviously we had the holidays. We've kind of supplemented some Half Street High Heat episodes for trivia. So it feels like it's been a while since we recorded like a true episode of Half Street High Heat. But I should have mentioned that off the top. Yes, the interesting thing we're going to talk about is salary dump trade ideas. That was published. I don't remember who, but it was on MLB Trade Rumors. Initially got the idea rolling that if teams around baseball are interested in, getting rid of kind of, for lack of a better word, albatross contracts, they should contact the Nationals. The Nationals have, a lot of money coming off the books. They didn't, jump in on the spending prior to the lockout. So all of the available cap space that they had at the end of the season is still available to spend. So they could take on a large albatross contract. And the benefit of doing that, for those maybe not familiar with these types of trade and this trade strategy, is a team, would give you that player and that contract. You take on that money, but in exchange, they also give you a top prospect. And that's obviously what the Nats have been doing. That's what they're looking to do. Obviously, everyone knows at the deadline, they prioritize those top close to MLB ready prospects. So absorbing a unwanted salary is just another method to reach that goal. And it's a very viable method. Several teams have done this throughout the years. The Dodgers did that, I guess, kind of famously with the insane deal with Adrian Gonzalez and Josh Beckett and Carl Crawford. That was kind of the most notable one in history. But the Nationals have an opportunity to do that, should they so choose. And tonight, we're just going to go through pretty much all of the candidates that we could think of that might fall in that category. So it's going to be a very fun episode. We're going to, talk all hypotheticals, which is really all we have right now because it is a lockout, but also it's Nationals. So none of this is ever going to happen anyways, but it's still fun to talk about. That's why we're here. And it's a lockout, so there's no baseball content. So we're here to, spice things up and give you your baseball fix. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Like I said, we're going to go through the entire league. We're going to go division by division because that obviously makes it easier. Did I hit on everything? I feel like I covered most everything.
Well, pretty much besides Tyler's article. So we want to mention that probably.
Of course, my apologies, Tyler, if you're listening to this. Tyler was, the one in Half Street High Heat who kind of got this going. So this episode idea was really piggybacking off his article, which you should have read already on halfstreethighheat.com. If you didn't, no worries, go to the website, go check it out. It's a great read. Tyler highlighted 3 candidates and potential trades that would be great for the Nats to pull off, and in their best interest, in the best interest of both sides. So definitely go check that out. But yeah, we're expanding upon that idea and just going through everybody, because there are plenty of players throughout the league that not only teams would possibly want to get rid of and get rid of their contracts, so it frees up them to maneuver elsewhere, but also for the Nats, you get top prospects, but you also get viable MLB talent for a team that all of a sudden lacked viable MLB talent, in August and September in 2021. So that will be, the idea and the mindset we're going through tonight. So let's get into it. We're going to start with some sort of more realistic trades. And by that, I'll explain a little bit later what I mean by that. But we're going to go division by division. We'll start in the AL Central. Obviously, you get your Royals, you get your White Sox, your Tigers, your Guardians, now it's official, and your Twins, several candidates, and ironically, several candidates that the Nats were linked to at one point or another, in their long history of kicking the tires on folks. We'll start in Kansas City with the Royals. 2 candidates right off the bat: Carlos Santana, Mike Minor. For those maybe not as familiar, Carlos Santana, switch hitting first baseman. We have one of those right now, but if the Royals are looking to salary dump, that could be a fit, especially with the potential for the universal DH to come into play. Mike Minor, lefty, had a couple of good seasons in Texas and then it kind of fell off. But again, salary dump. Not all these guys are going to be coming off great seasons. That's the point of teams wanting to get rid of their salaries. So Trey, off the top, Carlos Santana, Mike Minor, do you see either of these as like a true option, or is just, the Royals aren't very good either, so maybe they're content staying pat?
Yeah, I actually do see particularly Mike Minor as a decent option here, because the Nationals starting rotation right now is ugly. And obviously pretty much Strasburg, Corbin, and Gray are the locks, but we still need to fill out the last 2 spots. So the interesting part about Minor, actually, his 2021, when I was looking earlier, is that it seems like he kind of got unlucky. His ERA is way higher than his FIP. That normally means he wasn't getting much help from his defense.
Right.
So honestly, I think it could be a steal where you also benefit by maybe getting, probably not a top prospect for Minor, but something. And then you might actually see his numbers come back to being where he was in Texas, because just looking at these numbers, he honestly has gotten unlucky as a Royal so far. So Santana's more, I would see him more on probably a team that needs a first baseman. I don't really, assuming the Nationals stick with Josh Bell, we don't really need that. So the Minor pick is more likely to me than Santana.
Yeah. It's probably worth mentioning before I, weigh in on these 2 candidates. There was an additional article. Again, I should have looked it up by who put it out there. Josh Bell, in his own right, is a trade candidate. As much as me personally, and it seems like the fan base has grown to love Josh Bell. He's definitely, I think, in post season, or like after the season, has certainly got his recognition for what a great season he did have after a slow start. He could be a viable option for other teams if the Nats choose not to extend him. And the only reason the Nats might choose not to extend him is he might not fit their realistic timeline. Like Soto has a guaranteed 3 more seasons, of arbitration and whatnot locked up, but we're not necessarily guaranteed to be competitive in those next 3 seasons. So trading Josh Bell, even though he's only been here for 1 year, might, not going to say will or does, but might make sense for the Nationals to do, because they could get, better prospects than the ones they traded for him just a season ago. I don't necessarily want it to happen because I think you can retain Josh Bell on a very reasonable contract, and that just gives you another solid piece in your lineup. And at first base, he plays a great first base switch hitter. Like, there's a lot to like about Josh Bell. We talked to Josiah Gray a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about how Josh Bell was kind of one of the guys that greeted him. And obviously, we know the names that left DC after the trade deadline. So it was good to hear Josh Bell kind of took on that, leadership role. So it would kind of suck to see it go so soon, but at the same time, this is a business, and we kind of knew what we were signing up for or what we were in for after the deadline, with the future of the Nats and kind of the moves they were going to need to make, which is why we're talking about this. But should they trade Josh Bell, Carlos Santana would be someone in play. And if the universal DH comes into play, then Carlos Santana would be in play as well. But should they keep Josh Bell? I don't know that Carlos Santana is necessarily a target. I think there's a couple other first base options that might be a little bit more intriguing as in terms of a salary dump. Mike Minor, though, I think is someone to watch out for. My only, I could say concern, but my only hang up on a potential deal with the Royals in general is that the Royals stink. So they might not be looking to necessarily dump salary themselves. They might be looking at it in the same position the Nats are, where it's like, we can actually take on more salary and, get a couple prospects ourselves. So if the Royals were looking to dump Minor, then that's something we should look at. But otherwise, I don't know that I necessarily see it.
It's with Minor, I feel like it could happen with the Nats, but it's probably going to happen with a different team, not as a salary dump. But if he comes back, towards
someone's going to buy on him.
Yeah, someone could buy on him at the deadline.
Right.
Oh, and something I was going to say about Bell as well. I'm personally in the camp that believes that he's not going to get traded, and I don't want him to. And I think something that's a little bit overlooked, and we look at his stats, and the numbers were damn good. He was good defense. Josh Bell seems like he's a leader in that clubhouse, and I don't think they want to trade that guy. I don't think they want to trade those kind of guys. And like you were talking about with what Josiah said, Bell was the first guy to greet him. I feel like that's probably not, that doesn't seem like, from my perspective, that's something that's a one-off thing. He seems like he's generally a great clubhouse guy. So trading guys like that is probably more harmful to the team morale than anything.
Yeah, the team's not going to like that if, they're boys with Josh Bell and Josh Bell gets traded. It's like, yo, what the hell? Like, I mean, there's that kind of personal aspect to it from the player's side that affects the business side, which is what, the front office is tasked with caring about. But Rizzo himself has preached clubhouse culture being a priority. So I agree with you. It's like, why would you trade a glue guy almost? And Max, I'm sure, was probably a glue guy, and he kept everyone in line. And Trey was there forever, and down the line. But that was more for the business side. It's not like you wanted to get rid of them. It's more you kind of had to. You don't have to get rid of Josh Bell. So it might be a little bit different there. I would like to see him stay. Let's move on to another team, and specifically a team that Tyler highlighted in his article, the White Sox. Very interesting trade partner. Obviously, everyone knows the Adam Eaton deal. Talked about that ad nauseum on the show. I don't want to go down that road again, but we bring it up because there is a history of working together on a deal. They have two candidates in particular, both pitchers, which is something the Nats do need and should be looking to, add to. Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrell. Is he on an expiring deal, or does he still have 2 years left?
I believe he has two. Let me check.
And Kimbrell just has the one.
Kimbrell, I think he's on one. Yeah. So
yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, Trey fixed this in post, so he's seeing the stats and I'm not, which is why I'm going to ask him questions from time to time. I'm not just ignoring the stats on my screen. I just can't see it.
Yeah. So,
but
Keuchel is he's going to make 18 million this year and 20 million next year. So,
which Ryan loves to say it on the show. Pitching is expensive, and Keuchel is not the Cy Young Award winner that he once was, and he might not even be worth the 18 or 20 million he's getting paid. I'm not saying he is or isn't, but pitching is expensive. You got to, view pitching in a lens that you're going to need to pay a little bit more than probably you want to for pitching. It's just kind of the way it goes. And what we've seen so far through this offseason, Eduardo Rodriguez got paid. Eduardo Rodriguez is a perennial guy that, a perennial 4+ ERA, and he's getting, $20 million a year.
Yeah, he got
the nature of it. Yeah, it's just the nature of it.
I actually don't mind that deal though, because he went to the Tigers, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Detroit? Yeah. And big stadium, that's gonna help his ERA go down.
Right.
So not the worst idea, I guess, but a lot of money.
Yeah. But for Keuchel, 2 years, like we always say, there's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. 2 years is short enough where like you can swallow it. Is it great? No, but you can swallow it, especially if Keuchel regains form at all. I mean, that's a home run, because again, pitching is expensive. Yeah. So if he regains form at all, Nats aren't competitive, they're going to have plenty of teams calling for Keuchel services, because not only is he a former Cy Young Award winner, he has plenty of experience pitching in the postseason. So that's incredibly valuable for any team looking to make a run. Injuries happen all the time throughout the season. A team that might think it's set at pitching in April might not be set at pitching come June. So a guy like Keuchel, with the resume he has, is, incredibly valuable, and he's a lefty, which, is a value in itself. So even though he doesn't have the best contract, none of these guys do. None of these guys that we're talking about have great contracts, which is why they are included on this list. So it's like, for me, I'm not even necessarily thinking about the 18 to 20 million. It's not great, but it's almost a non-factor. We're talking about this as though the Nats can assume any of these salaries within their payroll. Craig Kimbrell, on the other hand, White Sox literally just traded for him. So I don't know how that would impact a potential return for him, if they're looking to, replace that prospect value, or if they're just looking to get out from the 1 year. What is it? 24 million? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's over 20 million, I do believe. So,
jeez.
A lot of money.
That's a lot. But again,
he's going to be making 16 million.
Okay. Year. 16 million. So not as bad as 24.
Not as bad. Still a lot though.
Yeah, still a lot, especially for a reliever. But again, 1-year deal, so you can swallow it. It's not like there's going to be a bunch of deferred money that affects you down the line. I don't know what the White Sox asking price is, but if let's just assume this is a package deal, a package salary dump, right? We'll just say 35 million. 35 million in 1 year. You can assume that you get 2 quality pitchers, and you're going to get a pretty nice prospect, because over the life of the deal, the Nats are really assuming 55 million, because you get the second year of Keuchel. 55 million, that's going to net you a pretty nice return. Like if you think back to the Arenado Cardinal swap, like the granted the Rockies are not the example to follow if you're MLB franchise, but the Rockies literally traded Arenado and 50 million to get better prospects. Like they were essentially buying prospects. That's kind of what the Nats are doing in this situation. They're effectively paying 55 million over 2 years to get really good prospects. Do you have like potential? I know Tyler outlined a couple prospects in his article, but did you have anyone in mind that you were kind of eyeballing if the Nats did acquire Keuchel and Kimbrell?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually get that far. I just listed the players. I didn't actually get to the prospects.
Well, so that's what we have Tyler for. Tyler's smarter than we are, and he outlined the prospects. But this is all just to say, two pitchers and two quality pitchers wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Plus, if they're, anything like their former selves in 2022, you can easily trade them at the deadline. It feels like pitchers are easier to trade than hitters because, again, pitching is expensive. This is my kind of like the deal I have circled as far as, this entire list. Are you kind of the same way? Is this near the top for you?
It's near the top. My top is a little bit later on. We'll get there. But I want to talk specifically about Kimbrel here because if you actually look at his stats from last season, they're really funny because on the Cubs, he had a sub-1 ERA, and then he immediately goes to a 5 with the White Sox. So, but it was such a small sample size. I feel like they shouldn't even trade him yet. They should wait because I feel like he has the potential to go right back to form and then be, either flippable or a big piece in their pen because they're looking to compete. Which is actually, I think the Nationals should take a look at Kimbrel specifically for if he does what he does in a half season last year with the Nats, he's extremely valuable. So maybe not go straight for it, but at least take a look at him because there's definitely potential of flipping him at the deadline for even more. So,
right. And as far as like trade assets go, right? Just in general, not necessarily salary dumps, but trade assets. Relievers are the ones you see traded most common, just because it's like, oh, we need to bolster our bullpen. Like, not many teams around baseball have good bullpens, and the White Sox actually are one of those teams, and they would still have a good bullpen if they didn't have Craig Kimbrel. So this is why I feel like the White Sox might be inclined to move him. They acquired him from the Cubs in an attempt to like make a push for 2021, but it didn't work. And now they're realizing they might need to use that money elsewhere, which is why they're kind of in this situation. So I agree with you. I think the Nats should look at Kimbrel because even if he does have, let's just say a 4 ERA, so not like a sub-1 like he did with the Cubs, but a 4 ERA, so better than he did with the White Sox, that's still going to be valuable to a team looking to make a playoff push. Because again, experience, the resume accounts for something in these deals. It's not just what have you done for me lately. I mean, that's the primary, determining factor for value and return, but the resume does talk. So I think Kimbrel probably would be a viable option that the Nats should look into. I agree with you. Let's move on to Detroit. This one, we only have one for Detroit. Detroit's kind of an interesting position because they are, they kind of exceeded expectations last year and they just signed Javi Baez, Eduardo Rodriguez we talked about. So they're looking to make a push for the first time in quite a bit. They still have that one albatross on their team, and that's Miguel Cabrera. And honestly, he's meant a lot to that franchise, and there might be some Tigers fans that argue that the deal was worth it because of what he provided in the front half of the deal, even though now it's like kind of weighing down the team in some respect. I just don't see this happening. I don't think Miggy's going to go anywhere. I don't think the Tigers are going to move Miggy. What do you think?
I'm with you. Don't think it's going to happen, but it's fun to think about. He's got two more guaranteed years on his deal. Both years he'll be making $32 million. Both. So that's a lot.
Yeah,
I don't see them moving him. I don't see them moving him. He's going to retire as a Detroit Tiger in the year 2023, most likely.
I don't think they would move him just out of like a respect thing, but I also didn't think they would move him because they're not going to be willing to pay the prospect capital for a team to absorb that. And granted, a team could absorb half, and then the Tigers could retain, like they could get creative with it, but I just don't see it happening at all. The Guardians, there's not really that one. The Guardians don't pay anybody. So that's basically what it came down to. Like Jose Ramirez is the one, people love to mock in their Billy Bean Moneyball type trades. Jose Ramirez is probably not going anywhere, and he certainly wouldn't be a salary dump. He is one of the best deals in baseball. So the Guardians, we're just skipping over them. The Twins, however, have kind of an old friend that the Nats were linked to quite often just a few years ago. That is obviously Josh Donaldson. The Nats still have a need at third base. They were linked to Josh Donaldson before. Now they kind of lucked out, missing out on signing him because he just hasn't been healthy. He's reverted back to the previous Josh Johnson and not the MVP caliber type. That being said, Twins could look to salary dump. Nats need a third baseman. Thoughts? Could he end up in DC after all?
This one's realistic to me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would be totally down because I think Josh Donaldson, just from an entertainment perspective, is really a fun player to watch. Whether you like him or not, he's going to bring you something. And, if he does bring some stats along with him, that's cool too. But he's going to be making over $20 million. The Twins, besides Buxton, really don't have a lot of money in other free agents. So it honestly makes sense for them to move him, especially after a disappointing season last year. And I think he has 2 more years on his deal. So that would net us some better prospects.
Yeah, because I think he has like a team, or not a team option, player option for the 4th year, if I remember the deal correctly. Because
he's got, I got it pulled up right here. He's got 2 guaranteed deals, 2 guaranteed $20 million deals or years left, and then there's a club option. In 2024.
So that was 4 years with the club.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Good for Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, he made off like a bandit in that one.
Yeah, I see why the Nats opted not to. So yeah, that obviously that club option is most definitely getting declined. But yeah, 2 years would net you a good prospect. Don't know that the Twins would do that just because they're probably not looking to get rid of prospects. But who knows? That division might be more wide open than some think. So the Twins might see an opportunity to, make moves and free up some money so they can make subsequent moves. Let's move to the AL West. Not a ton in the AL West. The Astros kind of in a unique position. Everyone they're paying is still pretty valuable to their team. So there's not really a salary dump candidate there. Texas, they had no money until recently. And by recently, I mean, what was it, November 30th that they signed everybody. So they're not going to salary dump people that they just signed. That would be quite the move. It'd be quite entertaining, actually. So nothing for Texas. Same thing with Seattle. There's not real money tied up anywhere, and anyone that they do sign, obviously they're not going to look to trade right away. So that just leaves you with 2 options: the Angels and the A's. The A's are a frequent trade partner with the Nats. Gio Gonzalez, Josh Harrison, Yan Gomes. There's probably other ones in there. If you go back a little bit further.
Madsen.
Oh yeah, Doolittle Madsen.
Yeah.
That's the big one. So there's a history there. Oakland is very clearly selling. I mean, shit, they just gave away their manager. So who knows what else they might just give away? Like I don't know. But Elvis Andrus and Steven Piscotty are 2 players we are highlighting for the A's. Elvis Andrus, middle infielder. That's kind of what the Nats need right now. They have Escobar. They have Alcides Escobar, who kind of fills that role. But if Garcia isn't developing as quickly as they hoped and they need another viable option, Andrus fits that role. Steven Piscotty, kind of like a streaky outfielder, plays good defense. Nats need a left fielder specifically. So he fits the mold. And like I said, Rizzo and the A's have a history of working deals out that seem to be beneficial for both sides. The question is, do you see the A's doing it? Because the A's seem to be going opposite of what we've seen before, where it's like they were sort of competing but wouldn't go all in. Now it seems like they're sort of tanking. Do they go all in?
Honestly, with the A's, I really don't know what they're doing most of the time, because like they kind of sell a lot and they still have been winning. So I don't know, but
now they don't have the manager.
They do not have the manager. I think the Padres. Yeah, we'll get into that a whole nother day. I
Right.
love that pickup for the Padres. But so Piscotty and Andrus, or Andrus, is that how you say it?
Andrus. Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was Andrus. Damn.
Whatever.
Right. Well, so they're both they're not huge contracts. So when we say salary dump here, it's more like if you're probably going to get a more low end prospect if you take on these contracts, because
But the A's love to shed money, so
the A's love to shed money. Also, both of these players had really, really poor 2021s. So, and they're both in their 30s. So I could see them maybe not to the Nats, but moving somewhere. And they're also shopping Olson and Chapman, I think, as well. I don't know if they end up trading Chapman, but
tell you
Olson
what,
might get traded.
Love me some Josh Bell, but if they can finagle a deal where somehow they end up with Matt Olson, I might.
You know,
I've
always my old roommate can vouch for this, but I've been a Matt Olson fan for a while because I just love his batting stance. I love the way his swing like recoils to the zone. He hits bombs. I mean, he's a great defender as well. People don't even know that.
Oh, he's a Gold Glove caliber.
Amazing defender.
Yeah, like his swing is so, and like when I say smooth, it's so smooth. It's just like a perfect plane. Obviously lefty, so lefties kind of have the sweeter swings, at least aesthetically. But it's just such a smooth plane. It's like a wacky batting stance because he's kind of out like that. Here, I'll grab the prop. He's kind of like out like this, and then it comes back. It's just it's weird, but it works, and it's very aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, so
he's got the launch angle swing for sure from the left side.
But same thing goes for Chapman. Like if we can somehow swing, I brought that up a few weeks ago. If we can somehow swing a deal for Chapman coming off injury, his value's probably never been lower. I mean,
yeah, the value is definitely at its lowest. And the A's, he's not making a ton of money either, and he's an ARB. So like, I'm pretty sure if he were to get traded, he would actually have a couple years of control left, or at least one. Yeah, so he would actually 2022 and 23. That. Yeah. And he's the defense is always there. That's never going to go away. He didn't quite do it with the bat last year, but even then he wasn't terrible. So I haven't looked at his luck stats. So maybe I'll put those on screen just to see if he was unlucky or not.
Again, but, in post, this is going to look much better.
Exactly.
Trey's going to work his magic. Let's move on to the Angels, because again we have a lot of teams to get through. Angels, as much as we would love them to salary dump Mike Trout, it's not going to happen. Anthony Rendon,
bring him back.
Yeah, Rendon just ain't going to happen. Rendon might block a trade to the Nats.
Yeah, well, he does have. I was curious, and he does have a no trade clause. So
yeah, I figured. The bigger one is Justin Upton. Justin Upton, obviously outfielder, had a lot of success earlier in his career. He's older now. No disrespect to Justin Upton, but might not fit the Angels timeline. The Angels are obviously trying to compete right now, and Justin Upton might not be like the answer for them. They might have better options elsewhere. Like they had what's the prospect? Is it Joe Adell?
Joe Adell, yeah, they still have him.
Yeah, so if he gets blocked,
Brandon Marsh was another guy who played last year, and he was pretty good. So
yeah, and obviously you have Trout manning center. Ohtani can play some right field if you need him to. So it's like Upton might not necessarily even fit into their plans. And even if he was like still serviceable, I'm not saying he is. Again, I'm not trying to throw shade at Justin Upton, but it is a valuable salary dump option. He's making quite a bit of money this next year. Do you see the Nats possibly in on this? Like the Nats could throw him in left field and just like call it a day because they need a left fielder.
Yeah, so it's a lot of money. It's $28 million. That's a lot to eat, but the more money, the better prospects you get back. Again, I haven't done.
Angels just drafted 16 pitchers this past year. So
they did. Yes, they did. They did. And Nats could use pitching. Any team could use pitching. So
pitching.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to get traded. I don't know if it's going to be the Nats. Or, maybe they just eat that, but they got a lot of just money sunk into position players. So I don't know. Maybe
it's just one more year, right?
Let me check.
Again, in post looks much better.
Yeah, he's one more year.
Yeah, so they might just opt to eat it, but they still need a lot of pitching, like current MLB ready pitching beyond just Syndergaard and Ohtani. Like they have and Iglesias, I guess. Like they need a lot still. So it's like they might opt to free that 28 million and you can get maybe 2 or 3 mid-level pitchers and relievers and
they don't even need like top end guys. They just need dudes who can come and get out sometimes.
Yeah, they just need like MLB quality pitchers.
Yeah, they've been just really rough the past couple seasons all around. Starter, reliever, doesn't matter. All right, so they could use any arms.
Trade proposal. I give Angels Patrick Corbin. I take Justin Upton.
Yes, I'm doing that.
I think that works for both sides.
The Angels are not doing that, but I'm doing that.
They need pitching. All right, let's move to the AL East. They do. We'll start with the Yankees. Yankees fans are always entertaining to see with their mock trades and whatnot. They go full Billy Bean more than any team in baseball. 2 viable candidates: Aaron Hicks, Zach Britton. Aaron Hicks signed a very unique deal. It was like a 7-year, $77 million deal. So his AAV isn't all that crazy, but it's the amount of years and the long-term commitment to him is really what the salary dump is. Nats have an opening in center field. They have a couple in-house candidates that might take the job, but certainly nothing set in stone. So Aaron Hicks could, be a bridge, and he could play corner outfield as well. Zach Britton, lefty reliever, had some great years. Obviously, everyone remembers the infamous, game in Toronto where Buck Showalter didn't use him. And since then, it seems like Zach Britton hasn't really found his footing again. But viable reliever, lefty reliever, good sinker movement, gets ground ball outs. Yankees always willing to make a trade. Cashman, one of the most savvy GMs in baseball. Thoughts?
My thoughts are that are we allowed to do some roasting of the Yankees on this pod? Because
I don't think you have to ask. The only one who might take exception to it is Allison.
Who signed him to that deal? Because I was looking at the stats.
Odd deal.
I was looking at the stats, more specifically the stat of games played.
Does have a cannon for an arm.
He parlayed 1 full season into that deal. 1. And I'm just like, I don't understand why you're gonna. He's still got like 4 years left. So I don't know. It's like you were saying, not a high AAV, but just the long-term commitment to a guy who never really played enough to do that. So I find that funny. And honestly, if I don't really see him getting dealt this offseason, but if he does, just that long-term commitment is going to drive up the price of the prospects that come with him.
If you want to just have yourself a good laugh, and I'm telling this to Trey, but also to anyone listening or watching, go look up how many years are still left on the Giancarlo Stanton deal, and you will laugh. That he signed a 13-year deal in Miami prior to him being traded, which feels like a lifetime ago, and there's still like 8 or 9 years left on that deal, which I guess makes sense, but like the what a terrible contract that ended up being.
Yeah. And it's funny because Miami signed him to that deal knowing that he was not going to be there for that long. Yeah. So yeah, well, the thing is,
Derek Jeter.
Oh yeah.
Smart man.
Stanton's rate stats are really good, but he just can't stay on the field. So that's the most important value, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't see either of this happening. It seems like the Yankees at this point in time, they're almost like too proud is the vibe I'm getting. Any move they make, they want to prove to everyone that it was the correct move. So I feel like Hicks and Britton, even though they're not like your Judge, your Gleyber Torres, your Garrett Cole, in terms of, the star keystone guys, but it still falls under the umbrella of, whether it's Cashman or just, the Steinbrenners or whatever. They want to prove everyone that these deals are right, that the Yankees don't get, nobody gets the best of the Yankees, right? That kind of mindset.
I think that's why Aaron Boone is still the manager.
that too. Yeah, Aaron. Yeah, we were right in hiring Aaron Boone and letting
this
go
is the right guy.
Girardi. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I honestly don't.
You remember
hate
he hit
Aaron
that home
Boone.
run the one time. He hit the home run. Great guy.
Knuckleball guy threw it.
He's a great guy. He's against the Red Sox. Come on. Yeah.
Well, I honestly don't hate Boone as a manager. Really, I feel like he could work somewhere, but just judging through the fan response on Twitter, anytime I see a Yankees fan, they are calling for Boone's head. So I don't know. I don't pay attention to the Yankees that much. I try to stay away from that. But when I do see them, that's what I'm seeing.
Speaking of a team you should probably stay away from and its fans, the Red Sox used to have, well, they still do have like a good amount of money tied up into players, but no real salary dump candidates. But the one we did want to talk about was an old friend of the Nats. They tried to acquire him once upon a time, and it led to one of, if not the most infamous deal
we don't have to talk about it
in Nats history. But Chris Sale, got to talk about it. You know, former Cy Young Award winner. He's had multiple Tommy Johns at this point. Came back last year. Was still throwing heat. Still had his stuff. It's just, you know, what's that arm got left in terms of health and longevity, in terms of his contract. Because he still has 3 years left on his deal.
I think he's got 3 at least.
Yeah.
Let me check.
the year, because of the shortened season, I am like mixing up the years for like service time and contracts.
Yeah. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4.
So he does have 4.
Yeah.
He is not getting through 4 years. He's also a psychopath, so I hope he doesn't, you know, kill me for that. Do you see, like, the Red Sox are probably the kings of the salary dump? Like, they've done it multiple times. They did it with Mookie Betts, even though they hadn't paid him yet. So it's like, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I don't know that I see it. Like, do you have different thoughts?
No, I don't see this happening either.
Yeah.
But the thing about Sale is that, you know, if he comes back into form next season, it's going to be dependent on where the Red Sox are at, because obviously they were competitive. They won the World Series in 2018. In 2019, they were not that great. 2020, they were really bad. And then last year, obviously, they came back and made the playoffs. But I don't trust that kind of inconsistency. So if the Red Sox get halfway through the season and they have a losing record, maybe you look to ship him, but I don't think he's going to get dealt this season. It'll probably be in a couple more seasons if he gets dealt.
Yeah. They need to let stuff play out before they make any decisions on Sale one way or another.
They're still paying David Price. They pay half his salary.
Who we will talk about.
Yes, we will.
I was going to say. Oh, but as far as Chris Sale goes, like, they're still paying him to be their ace, and they didn't get a huge sample size of you know, him returning from injury. So I feel like at least for the 2022 season, he will be a Red Sox for the entirety of the season. And then maybe this time next year, we're talking about a potential salary dump. But, you know, even next year with another year off that deal, 3 years to salary dump is quite a lot. So I don't know. The Red Sox might just have to eat it. All right. Out of the AL, let's move to the NL. We'll start with the NL Central. St. Louis. Again, not a ton of salary. Really, the whole NL Central, not a ton of salary dump options. St. Louis does have a pitcher that could be interesting. Miles Mikolas had a great year. God, again, years blending. I believe it was 2019 that he parlayed that into a very respectable deal for both sides. But at this point, he's been hurt a lot. The Cardinals have other pitching options. Not that they couldn't use more, but, you know, they might not necessarily have a spot for Mikolas. And the Cardinals obviously, you know, almost beat the Dodgers in the wild card game. So they're still very much competitive. So they might be looking to salary dump and, you know, find pitching options elsewhere. Do you see the Cardinals moving Mikolas? It's sort of a salary dump, but sort of not.
I don't, but I threw it on there because he's making almost $17 million. And
I thought it was
that just
less.
that
I thought it was like
price
10 or maybe
this season.
Oh, it
So
jumped up.
yeah, it was the contract structure. He took a cut in his first season, and then
That's what I was
so
thinking.
he's making almost 17 million. So I don't think they're gonna move on from him, because when he plays, he's good.
He's good.
It's just the injuries have kind of zapped him the last couple seasons.
Hmm.
And honestly, if I feel like the Cardinals, they're going to be competitive. They're probably going to need him in their rotation if he can stay healthy. So maybe if he has maybe not the best start, then you look for it. But I would think he stays there through the offseason.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the rest of the NL Central. I'll just say it now. Pirates, they don't have anyone worth our time anymore. Thank you for Josh Bell. But as far as the rest, the Reds, the Brewers, and the Cubs, for me personally, I'm just gonna say yes to all four guys we're about to talk about. I will take any of these guys, and I'll just run through them really quickly, and you can chime in with your thoughts. With the Reds, Mike Moustakas was kind of the one. Mike Moustakas and Eugenio Suarez were kind of the one that got this whole conversation going. That's who the report was about with the Nats salary dump trade idea. People were talking about Moustakas and Suarez in general. Absolutely, I'll take either one of them, if not both of them. Give me them. Yeah, I no problem with that whatsoever. Milwaukee, Lorenzo Cain. I've always loved Lorenzo Cain. So it's like, even though he's not what he once was, with the World Series winning Royals, and even early on in Milwaukee, once he signed there, like, he's still valuable, still Gold Glove level defense. The only hangup is, like, he's effectively Victor Robles. Like, he plays really good defense, but nothing on offense. So maybe like that just doesn't work. Like, you already have Robles, so why take up another roster spot? That's another thing we haven't really talked about. The Nats don't have a ton of room on their 40-man roster. So it's like they can only make so many of these deals. So I don't know that they would want to take on Lorenzo Cain when they have that same archetype player on the roster already. But the last one, Cubs, this has been an albatross from the beginning. Not that he's not a quality player, but certainly got overpaid at the time he got paid. Jason Hayward with the Cubs. Cubs, obviously, they were in a fire sale mode at the deadline, just like the Nats. The Cubs, however, did make a splash before the lockout, signed Marcus Stroman. So they might be looking to be competitive, sooner rather than later, as they should, as any good franchise would. But, the Jason Hayward deal is a bit of a shadow looming over their payroll, and they have a new GM in place recently. So he might look to make a splash move and get rid of the Hayward contract. But Hayward plays elite level defense. So, like, he's certainly not like a burden to your team. These four, I will take any of them. I think Moustakas and Suarez are more likely than the other two. The Reds, they like went all in on the 60-game season and then immediately punted. Like, they're shopping Castillo and Sonny Gray now for whatever reason. So it's like they immediately punted on something that seemed to be close to working. But if they punt, like, that's, we get the ball back. So it's like, that works. So I'll take any of these, but Moustakas and Suarez to me seem like the more viable options.
Yeah. Moose is my number one of these trades. I think it makes the most sense because
defensive versatility.
Also, he's generally known as a leader in the clubhouse, a veteran leader, a guy with a great personality. And he's been a great player. He's really just battled injuries. There's always a possibility that he can come back healthy and play well. Suarez, the dude's going to hit homers. So he's got that.
Love homers.
Yeah.
Homers are my favorite, unless I'm pitching.
If he can keep his batting average above 200, then he's valuable. But if he can't, then not really. The Hayward one interests me the most as well, because they kind of been. He has a full no trade clause, by the way. We should mention that. So he'd have to waive that. But this contract has kind of been rumored to be being traded for a long time, but it was just there was too many years left. Now there's only 2 left on this contract, which is why it's definitely something the Nats could consider, because I wouldn't want to have him locked up for like 6 years, but 2, and you're probably going to get some really good names back because his bat has just been so poor. It's not the worst idea. And yeah, he plays elite defense still every single season. So you're going to get that consistent.
I mean, if you need Jason Hayward or anyone for that matter to waive their no trade clause, just show them one of these.
Yeah,
like,
there
hey,
you go.
You know, we recently won a World Series. Heard about it? Yeah, come to DC. Yeah, don't look at the roster right now.
Done some good stuff.
don't look at the roster right now. But this dated 2019. That was just a couple years ago. Come to DC.
Yeah.
All right, NL West. A lot of good options in the NL West. We mentioned it earlier. It was all right, I'm mixing articles now. Friend of the show, fan-sided partner, District on Deck, Max, put out an article about David Price in particular. But Cody Bellinger could honestly be thrown in there as well. Cody Bellinger has had like a fascinating start to his career. And the Dodgers have so many options that maybe they choose to kind of salary dump him, even though it's not really a salary dump. Like, Cody Bellinger is fascinating in his own right, but David Price also is. Like, the Dodgers traded for him and never used him as a starter. He was like a 3-inning guy to the bullpen, but he's getting paid like top of the line rotation money. So it's like just a very fascinating option trading with the Dodgers. And obviously, Nats have a very recent history of trading with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers still have a very good farm system even after trading with Nats. So it's like a deal could happen, and it could be in the Dodgers' interest to move Price in particular, but maybe Bellinger as well. They just re-signed Chris Taylor, so he's a Swiss Army knife. He can play anywhere. So it's like they could move. What do you think of this? Like, this is fascinating to me, like the concept of another trade with the Dodgers.
Well, I want to talk about Bellinger first. I don't see the Nats acquiring Bellinger. I don't even see him getting traded, but I put him in here just because, like you said,
there's rumors.
Such an interesting
100%
start to his career. And honestly, if he was just like sort of below average last year, it wouldn't even be a discussion. But he was one of the worst hitters in baseball. Bad. After being the MVP. Bad. So yeah, but and it's funny because he made 16 mil in his ARB 2 or 1 or his whatever, and he's going to be making 17 mil, that's not how that's supposed to go up. That's supposed to go up a lot more than that. Right. But I don't really see him getting dealt, but I think it is interesting to speculate because it's so risky to trade him, because if he does go back to form, he's one of the best players just in general. I would put him, his 2019, if he could do that again, he's a top 10 player easily. So yeah. But I don't really see him getting dealt. Price, though, I really hope the Nationals look at this one, because I like David Price as a third, fourth option. He's going to give you innings as long as he stays healthy. And then,
quite honestly, it might be a steal. Like,
yeah,
we don't know who David Price is right now because the Dodgers never really used him. Granted, the Dodgers, they had an embarrassment of riches in terms of pitching, but it's like they saw David Price and they were actively using like Tony Gonsolin ahead of him. They're using Dustin May ahead of him. They're using God, I can't remember that guy's
Victor
name.
Gonzalez.
Ross Stripling. They were using when they had Ross Stripling. They were using Ross Stripling ahead of him, and all this stuff. So it's like maybe they saw something. I think David Price had nagging injuries as well. Nothing like Tommy John, but like nagging injuries. So that might have played a part. But like David Price still might be a very effective starter, and nobody knows it because we just haven't seen it. So it's like that potential reward is just like so enticing to me that I said it off the top, like I'll take on any of these contracts just because of the state of the Nationals, but like we might get a really good prospect and a really good player.
Yeah. And, with Price, he took 2020 off and he was in his early 30s, I believe. That could give him some
year off
juice.
The old arm.
You never know. A year off the old arm. And
no taxes. just like
for the
Ryan
Dodgers,
likes no taxes.
Yeah, tax evader Ryan. And then what was I saying? Oh
My
yeah,
bad.
so it's fine. So with Price, the Nats should definitely take a look at him because there's upside, there's prospects, and I believe that the Red Sox would still have to pay half his money if he was traded to the Nats. So
Probably
that would he's listed as making $32 million next season, but only half of that's coming from LA, which means I think only half of it would come from the Nats if they were to trade for him. And he's got 2 years as well.
could be a steal. That's all I'm saying. Like, if it's not, then you're getting what you effectively paid for. You're getting a salary dump. You're getting a player that's no longer effective on a bad contract in exchange for a top prospect. Like, getting a top prospect. But if he's good,
that deal,
he's good.
The floor of this deal is high because I don't really feel like the Nats.
The ceiling's really high too. It's quite honestly like the only high floor, high ceiling deal in this list.
This is one of the better trade candidates for sure for the Nats.
Let's go to the Padres. The winners of the Max Scherzer sweepstakes, according to Ken Rosenthal. Although I shouldn't be making fun of Ken Rosenthal right now.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
We love you, Ken.
We'll talk about that later. But Ken Rosenthal does not deserve what is happening to him right now. Yeah. The Padres, also a very fascinating case study with what they're doing, what they have done, what they will do. They have a lot of money tied up in players, and it just, obviously we saw last year, it just completely fell apart, completely did not work. They brought in, they literally stole him from Oakland.
Bob Melvin.
Bob Melvin, thank you. Bobby Melvin, and he's a proven manager, not just like some hotshot young guy. Like, he's proven multiple Manager of the Year awards in Oakland with no money, no free agent signings, and now you have an aggressive front office to pair with a good coach. Like, you would think the Padres are going all in, but what does all in look like? Does it mean adding to what they have, or does it mean getting rid or freeing up some stuff to make more moves? Don't know. But Eric Hosmer is kind of the big one. He was the first one to sign with Padres. Manny Machado followed. Fernando Tatis got big. Cronenworth, Pham, all those other deals that followed. So that's the big one. Obviously, you have Josh Bell, so that would be kind of an issue from the start if you don't have a DH. Will Myers, who it seems like he's been salary dumped from every team he's ever been on. No shot at Will Myers, but it's what it seems like. He's an outfield power bat the Nats might like. And Yu Darvish, who the Padres just traded for, was very ineffective last year. Padres might be looking to move on right away. He does have a no trade clause, so I don't see Yu Darvish in particular, because in 2022 you're going to have Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Mike Clevenger, Joe Musgrove, and you still have Chris Paddock, who, if Chris Paddock's your 5, like that's more acceptable than Chris Paddock being your 1, which he was for the Padres. And they have Dinelson Lamet too, who's dealing with injury, but I mean, he might be your 5 and Paddock might be relegated to a bullpen. So it's like, I don't see them moving Darvish, but Hosmer and Myers, I feel like they are going to move. They already traded Adam Frazier, and that might have been because of ineffectiveness, and they have other infield options. But, Cronenworth plays first base, so they, could look to move Hosmer in that terrible contract. And, they have, they're playing Fernando Tatis in outfield, this past year, so they could look to move Will Myers. What do you think about the Padres as a potential trade partner?
I don't know about for the Nats, but Will Myers probably makes the most sense for the Nats because he could play every outfield position, and he's got some nice pop, which the Nats could use.
He doesn't use batting gloves, though, so I don't really want him. I think people who don't use batting gloves are weird.
No gloves? Oh, I didn't use gloves, dude. No batting gloves for me either.
Oh, well, that's why you're here and not there.
Yeah.
Granted, I am too. So, I mean, who the hell
we're
knows?
both sitting here. Now, Darvish is interesting to me because he was an all-star. I don't think people remember. He had a great first half, and then they cracked down on the sticky stuff. So I don't know, because his first half ERA, I have the splits pulled up.
But he was an all-star, but I don't think he really was an all-star, if you know what I mean. His numbers weren't great.
He was pretty good. He's had
3.09
ERA.
Okay, maybe there was just like an egregious snub. Because I remember when the all-star rosters got announced, and everyone was like, "You Darvish." Granted, I mean, I can barely remember what happened yesterday. So if you're asking,
I can't remember
the all-star break. Like, I'm just not going to be able to cite my sources. An 3.09, obviously very, very good. But yeah, the second half is, what have you done for me lately? Sticky stuff. That's obviously going to be an issue for pitchers to work through, or lack thereof. Sticky stuff. I don't know. Like, it's interesting, but I certainly don't see as high of a ceiling as some of the other deals.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was using sticky stuff. It's just speculatory, but just looking at the stats, maybe the Padres was using
sticky stuff. Yeah, I'm not joking. Everyone was using sticky. We don't have to get into it, but everyone was using sticky stuff.
But maybe the Padres see that second half ERA and they say, let's try and get this guy out of here. But he has a no trade clause, so it doesn't have to happen. And then Hosmer, sorry.
I was just going to say, and he's going to want his personal catcher, and the Nats don't really have an option for.
I didn't even think about Caratini. That's right. But for Hosmer, the Hosmer deal would work if we traded them Josh Bell. I don't want us to trade Josh Bell, but if that's the direction we're going in, we should probably look at Hosmer because he can give us the best return.
I'm trying to think. Is it Mackenzie Gore? Is that the prospect?
If we could get Mackenzie Gore,
give me Hosmer and Gore for Bell and Tim Cate. I don't know.
Yeah. We honestly, if we got Hosmer, you really don't. Besides Bell, I don't feel like the Nats need to even throw in a prospect because his contract is just. He hit replacement level last year and got paid like $30 million to do it. So that's
how many years does he have left? I thought he only had like 2 years left.
I think it was I think he's got 3.
It was a 7-year deal, but I thought it was 5 years.
Yeah, he's got. I
thought it was
3.
a season. Damn.
No, he's got 4.
How? I thought he left the season. It was an 8-year deal.
I thought it was 7 too. No, it's 8. It was an 8-year contract. So yeah, no, they would have to give up some.
I'll give you Josh Bell. Give me Hosmer, Gore, and
Lamet.
Yeah, Lamet. Yes.
Yeah. So he's going to make $20 million this year, and then it actually drops to $13 million per year for the next 3 years after that. But that's still a ton of money.
The Padres are the owner defender's best friend. Because owner defender will always be like, oh, they don't need to spend money, like stuff like that. And the Padres do spend money and make moves, and they're all the wrong moves. And it's just like, look at the Padres. You want to be the Padres? I'm like, kind of, yeah. That's kind of what I want. But now they're obviously in a bad salary dump position. All right. Let's knock out the rest of the NL West. The Giants really only won. Evan Longoria. Giants, obviously best team in baseball, regular season, that is. Last year, who knows what they're going to do? Evan Longoria was effective in spurts, but obviously health has been a major concern of his ever since he got to San Fran. Maybe. I don't know. It seems like the Giants kind of value that veteran leadership on their team, and Evan Longoria is like a proven ball player. Like, he's just been around forever. So I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah. So I actually like Longoria to stay put if the DH is implemented, especially in the National League.
Right.
Because he can still hit. And I think that also, as an older guy, if he's DHing instead of playing third base every day, that's going to help his legs, going to help him stay fresh. And he was, like you said, he was pretty effective when he played last year. So I'm not sure what the Giants are going to do with that. The thing is about San Francisco is that they were like the best team in baseball, and they have a top 10 farm system. So they're in a pretty good position to do whatever they want, honestly. And they have the manager of the year. So I got to say, did not expect that turnaround. I guess the Phillies front office is just that bad.
Well, Ryan loves to say that the Giants are frauds, so maybe we have a 70-win season from them incoming in 2022.
Yeah, I guess
we'll see.
I would probably say they overperformed, but I don't know. They
won like 107 games. They absolutely overperformed.
They overperformed, but I really like their starting pitching to keep them competitive.
God, I don't even remember what happened. They lost Gosman, right? Gosman went to Toronto, and Robbie Ray went to Seattle. That's the movement. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they signed Alex Cobb to replace him. So they signed Alex Cobb, Alex Wood, and D. Scalfani.
Yeah, and they also still have Logan Webb.
Yes, I was gonna say Derek Rodriguez, but which was a pitcher for the Giants. I don't know if he's still
yeah.
is.
Oh my god, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, long hair,
Pudge's kid, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Okay. All right, anyways, let's move on to the Rockies. Unfortunately, they don't have Nolan Arenado to trade anymore. I wish the Nats would have gotten in on that. But they do have Charlie Blackmon. He's older, but he's an on-base king. Plays an effective center field. Coors effect, like I'm not even going to consider that because this is a salary dump. Like you need to acknowledge what you are trading for or the possibility of what you're trading for in one of these types of deals. So I'm not going to care about the Coors effect. Nats have an opening in their outfield in general, obviously not right field, but in their outfield, center and left. So it's like I feel like Charlie Blackmon could fill one of those roles. He's a veteran guy. He's been around a while. He gets on base. If he gets on base, we like him. My Billy Bean impression. It's fine. Like I'm not going to go crazy over it, but it could be a good deal. But also back to my point about the Royals, like I don't know that the Rockies are looking to salary dump Blackmon. Arenado was a little bit of a different story because he had an opt-out. So it's like he could have opted out and the Rockies would have lost him for nothing. But Blackmon doesn't have an opt-out. So it's like, I don't know where, when you trade him to get the max value, but I don't know that I see them moving Blackmon.
Yeah, and it's pretty much for the reason you just said. They're not going to want to attach prospects to a big contract unless they, were to randomly start really hot next season. I don't see it happening. But it's an interesting thought because Blackmon with a DH would actually be even more valuable because he was a good fielder, but he's getting older, so probably going to zap his athleticism a little bit. So if the DH option is there, he can probably not be a full-time DH, but he can DH some.
Yeah. But let's be honest, they're not trading him. They kept John Gray at the deadline because they wanted to potentially re-sign him. They kept Trevor Story at the deadline, even though Trevor Story did not want to be there. They are keeping Charlie Blackmon. Like the Rockies have no idea what they're doing. They're keeping Charlie Blackmon. So let's move on to Arizona. Again, a couple like decent options. Mad Bum is the first one. He's a modified no trade, which I assume means he has the Nats blocked.
I actually don't know what that means. I just wrote it.
So I'm pretty sure a modified no trade is like he can block like 13 of the 30 teams or something, or 29 teams.
Yeah, I'm just not sure which teams he's blocking.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if he blocked the Nats. It seems like most players block the Nats in their modified no trade. Nick Ahmed and David Peralta, both like quality, serviceable bats. I'm not as familiar with their defensive metrics, but like decent bats the Nats could incorporate into a offensively depleted lineup. Thoughts on the Diamondbacks? Again, my argument is going to be the same here. It's like, are the Diamondbacks really looking to salary dump? I don't know for certain, but they could, and maybe, but I don't know that I see this one either.
Yeah, well, so Mad Bum, I don't see this season. Probably another season before
he's still got like 4 years.
Yeah, he's still got a long contract. Ahmed is interesting because he's making a decent amount of money, and recently he's not been a great hitter. But his fielding ability is still there. He's one of the best infielders.
Mix that up.
So, and this is more of a low key deal if the Nationals were to make it. Probably wouldn't get a huge prospect from it, but you get a guy who can play utility infield, and he can pretty much play second, shortstop really well. I don't know about third base, but he's definitely a good shortstop. And then with Peralta, I don't see that more as a salary dump. I see him getting traded, but probably to a contender because he can hit a little bit.
Mm-hmm. A little decent. Mm-hmm. So probably nothing there. So let's move to the NL East. And this is where we get wild. None of these deals are going to happen. They are not going to trade within division. And that's, those teams with the Nats. The Nats probably would because they're kind of just in fuck it mode and we'll make deals that benefit their team as they should. I want to end with the one that's number one on this list. So let's start with the Atlanta Braves. The big one right now is just Marcell Ozuna. That's not happening. Like the Nats cut Starlin Castro immediately, for his incident. Marcell Ozuna, incident along the same lines, was actually arrested for it. Like, just not happening. That's just something the Braves will probably have to conduct detrimental to the team to get that money back. Something like that. Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what the compensation was for that. So I don't even know. I have no idea if he's going to be playing or if he's even allowed to play, but I put him on there just because I doubt he's going to be playing for Atlanta next year. So
he's not going to be. Well, he's not going to be playing at all in my mind.
I hope not.
Yeah. For those of you watching on YouTube, I am messing with my eyes. My contacts are like grayed out at this point, so I am flying blind. So if you see me, I am not under the influence. I am just blinded by my own contacts. It'd be your own contact sometimes. Philly obviously trying to compete. I don't think they will ever be competitive. Didi is one. Didi Gregorius, that is. I don't see it just because he went to Philly / Philly signed him because that's Joe Girardi's guy. I feel like Girardi would probably step in and be like, nah. That's just me. That's just my, guess. But Gene Segura is another one. Also very, very good in spurts. Not always the most consistent guy, but can be very, very good. But he has a no trade clause. Do the Phillies really sacrifice that potential upside when they're trying to be competitive? I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. So Segura, he's probably going to stay put because he's been valuable for them. But with Gregorius, I wouldn't say he's going to the Nats because I don't think any of these guys with NL East trades are going to the Nats. But I think Gregorius could get dealt because, he was bad last year, really bad, very bad, like horrendous. So, and he's making a decent amount of money. He was also hurt a lot last year too. So, I could see him getting traded somewhere. Sorry, my cat's scratching the back of my chair. But yeah, and then Segura is probably going to stay put.
Yeah, I agree. So let's get to the fun one. And that's obviously, the New York Mets. And the most infamous trade in recent history for them, Robinson Cano is still a Met. And he is still making like $30 million this year. I don't know how many years are left on his deal, like 1 or 2 probably. But he's still a Met, still hasn't retired. He's just been raking in winter ball, so maybe. But at the same time, it's not like the Mets necessarily care about the luxury tax because they just signed Max Scherzer, like blowing past the luxury tax. So I don't know that they care. But they also have Cookie Carrasco, like great story, solid pitcher. Just like, with everything he's gone through, it's not the most shocking thing in the world to see. I skipped the rest of the AL East. I just realized that I skipped the Blue Jays. I skipped the Blue Jays, the Orioles, and the Rays. I just realized.
You know what? It's cool. All those are like not like
I'm just looking at the list.
We could go through them, but like it's not.
But let me finish my thought on the Mets. I literally just noticed that. I was like, I'm an idiot. Cookie Carrasco. It's like it's not the most surprising thing in the world that he's been inconsistent. But at the same time, I feel like the Mets probably give him a shot to like right the ship and play consistently, and hopefully the performance evens out, towards the mean.
Yeah, with Carrasco, he just hasn't been able to pitch that much recently, so they don't have a good sample size to really determine is he still good or not. So I can see him staying put there. I put Cano on here because it's the funniest contract to me that is in MLB right now, just because he's gotten PED busted twice on that same contract. So that's really funny. He's getting paid a lot of money. And I just don't know what you do with this guy, because is he clean? Is he healthy? He's 39. He's going to be making $24 million as a 39-year-old. The only way that they could get rid of that contract is to attach big prospects, I think. So they'll probably end up eating that, unless next season he like somehow comes back with some value. Maybe they trade him for like an actual piece for them.
We will take
honestly,
Robinson Cano and Jacob deGrom for Victor Robles.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that's fair.
Definitely.
I mean, Cano is just like, you're never going to win with Cano under contract. So it's like,
yeah, so you got to trade the other guy.
Really... Exactly. It's just some no name. Didn't even really pitch last year, so don't worry about it. All right. Just because it's going to bother me, I'm going to knock out the rest of the AL East teams. Toronto, Hyunjin Ryu, full no trade. I don't see that happening. Randall Grichuk, though, been moved a ton. It seems like if a trade happens, you got to check if Randall Grichuk's been involved because he's been traded so much. But like Piscotty, an outfielder with some pop that has underperformed recently, but should he progress towards the mean, could be, something worthwhile. But thoughts on the Blue Jays?
Well, for Grichuk, he's going to give you home run power every season. Every season of created hit bombs. I'm not really sure on his defense. Haven't checked his metrics on that.
I think he's slightly below average.
He's got a bat, and obviously we're speculating, obviously, that the DH is going to be implemented in the National League. So good bat. You never know. Ryu, yeah, he's probably going to stay. Even though he did underperform a little bit, he's still a solid piece for them. So
yeah, he's solid as a number 3 because they have Barrios, Gosman as their 1-2, and then Ryu is the 3 that and then they have like Nate Pearson in the wing. Like, they'll be fine. The Rays, no strangers to salary dump. They will dump anyone at any given moment. Kevin Kiermaier is the one, like, elite level defense. Okay, offensively, certainly better than like Victor Robles, but not like who's the best, like not like Mike Trout level offensive or anything like that. But certainly average offensively, elite defensively, better than Victor Robles, but sort of in that archetype. It's like, I think at this point, Robles' ceiling is Kevin Kiermaier. Like, that's almost the way I look at it. So it to my low Kane argument, it's like, would the Nats take up a roster spot for a type of player they already have?
Yeah. So honestly, the only reason why I even put this on the list is just because Tampa Bay doesn't spend money, because it's only $12 million for Kiermaier. And I don't think that's a salary dump for him. I think, they could trade
it is
real
for the
value
Rays,
for him.
though.
It is,
right.
But exactly with Tampa Bay, I just included it because he's their
someone would have to trade for Kiermaier, as opposed to most of the guys on this list. Like, teams would have to get someone to take them.
Yes. But with the Rays, you never know, because they don't like to spend money. So
yeah. And if you're asking who was it? Oh, if you're asking Blake Snell, they just like trading for slapdick prospects. So maybe. Last one, the Orioles, the only one that matters on their team, Trey Mancini. I think this is similar to the Kiermaier situation. Someone will trade for Trey Mancini. It won't be a salary dump, but got to include him in there because show some respect to Trey Mancini.
And the Orioles payroll is last.
Yeah,
I think
Juan Soto's son,
or they're 29th. Sorry, excuse me.
Oh my God, you're so off track there.
Can't believe that. I just did.
By the way, we're on video now. Like this will be on YouTube page. Your outfit today is very together. You look like the grayed out face on MLB.com.
Yeah, no, that's actually what I was going for.
That was what you were going for.
Yeah,
it works.
No, actually, I didn't even mean to match the hat and the shirt. That just kind of happened.
It works. So it looked like you're going out as like a grayed out player.
Yeah, I think the lockout's affecting
no
me.
Face. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
subconsciously,
it's affecting my everyday choices. Yeah.
Well, that was us going through literally the entire league, talking about potential salary dump candidates. If we somehow missed one, or you have one that you really like, be sure to comment on YouTube and mention us on Twitter, talking about it, because this is a very viable option for the Nats to explore once the league year resumes, whenever that may be. But we'll see. Like, I just don't know what route the Nats are going to take just yet, just because they haven't done anything yet since the season ended. So we shall see, but this is a very viable option and kind of fits the path they took at the deadline. So I think this is something to keep an eye on. These are potentially names you're going to want to get familiar with if you're not already. But Trey, thank you for putting this together. This was fun, man.
Absolutely. This was a good time.
Yep. So as far as the show goes, like a programming note to wrap it up here, we'll absolutely positively give you at least one episode a week, whether it be a true Half Street Hot Heat episode or the Half Street Hot Seat with trivia. You're still going to get content. We're kind of just at this point in the off season. It's early January, nothing's going on. Not that anything would be going on anyways, but it is a lockout. We're kind of just playing around with ideas, but we absolutely will continue to do the content. We're back now that the holidays are over, back to posting articles every day. Tyler had a great one about salary dump candidates, which is what we talked about. I had one today about a potential MLB red zone type channel and just overall accessibility to the game. I believe Allison has one coming out tomorrow. CK and Danny over the weekend. It's coming at you every single day. Obviously Trey has another video coming out on Friday and whatnot. So it's like we are providing you a ton of baseball content to hopefully allow you guys to get your baseball fix that you aren't getting otherwise. But as far as the show goes, it still is happening. It might not be like the same day every week, but it still absolutely is happening. We're kind of just playing with ideas and taking the off season to reevaluate as any good franchise should. So that's what we're doing right now. But just a little programming note, and for the diehard trivia listeners out there, another programming note. We just haven't been able to get on the same schedule as far as myself, Matt Wyrick, and Ryan Shack, as far as the kind of celebrity matchup. As holidays, people were traveling, stuff like that. Everyone involved is still very much interested in doing it. I push it off, or I promised it, I should say, for a couple of weeks now. It is happening, just a matter of when. So gives you something to look forward to, I guess. But that will be happening. Trivia will resume next week as well. Again, took a week off for holidays and just overall relaxation. If you're in the DMV area, it snowed a ton, so just just relax and whatnot. But a little programming note to end up this episode. I hope that I look okay on camera. I hope that you look okay on camera. I hope that the show looks okay on camera, because that is definitely what we're going to be pushing towards in the 2022 season. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel already, I highly recommend you do so. Might be a little something in it for you if you do. That's all I'm going to say.
Maybe.
Can't guarantee, but there might. You never know. It wouldn't hurt. Certainly. But be sure to check us out on Twitter as well, at Half Street High Heat. Follow us all on Twitter. Myself at Nationals Ace, Trey at Reverse, 2 R's, 2 S's. Check out the website at halfstreethighheat.com. Like I said, subscribe on YouTube. Check out our TeePublic site. A lot of great merch on there. I believe there is a sale coming up, so you're going to want to keep an eye out on that as well, and get yourself some nice merch for when the 2022 season resumes. Did I plug everything?
I think you got it.
I think I got it. I think I nailed it. All right.
I think so.
Trey, thank you again. This was fun. We're absolutely going to have to do this again, hopefully under better circumstances when we're not locked out. but I appreciate you guys listening. Or I appreciate you joining. Appreciate you guys at home listening, or in this case, watching. That's gonna be new. This has been how do I end these shows? I am so out of practice. This has been Half Street High Heat. Until next time, let's go baseball.